Hi there, how are you? I've just seen your video and couldn't said it better myself, to be honest. And I absolutely couldn't have said it better because I'm not a scientist or a science head. But everything you said there, I wanted to say in a video response to you back. Like, thank you so much for saying that so calmly. And I know you're right, and it's not natural, um, and the only thing I'd say to you on your video is that the graph, for me and for people who are not science minded or graph minded like myself, I didn't get the graph at all, and I didn't bother pausing it, let's say, to check it out and to really see it. And maybe you couldn't actually read the side and the top, to see exactly what was written there in the numbers and whatever. That's the only thing I'd say bad, negative on your video, but totally positive. And you're absolutely right about people who live beside the sea and stuff like that, and rivers and all that sort of stuff. And also you're thinking about refugees coming from those places inland and stuff like that, of course. All stuff that will happen if it is worst case scenario. Now, the way us humans, as you know yourself, and as I've known all my life, the way us humans are, that we just like to live for the moment, and essentially trust in God, that God will come down with the finger from the clouds and zap everything back into place again, and we don't have to do anything about it. And this idea that this argument, we're basically wasting time with the argument: is this natural or is it man-made? I don't think anybody particularly cares anymore whether it is man-made or not, or natural or not. We should be actually taking precautions and making changes just in case the worst case scenario comes. Personally, I know that the worst case scenario is around the corner unless each individual does similar things to myself. Now, to be an environmentalist, to be conscious of the environment, doesn't mean that you have to be a hippie, smoke marijuana, and wear hippie clothes and stuff like that. For a start, there really is no meaning of hippie anymore. Or there aren't hippies anymore really in the planet. Hippie was a phase in the 60s and 70s. That's over now, 30 or 40 years. We've moved on. There are no Nazis either in the world. That was, again, 50 years ago, 60 years ago. But I live in Germany here now, and there are a lot of people would still consider and think that there are Nazis in Germany. They're not Nazis. They're idiots. They're traditionalists. I call them Trazis. Traditionalistic, not nationalistic. And hippies, look at my background here, Let me just turn my camera around. Do you know what I mean? Like that, I've got painting all over my walls. I've got long hair, I'm a musician. And, so obviously, I would be stereotyped as a hippie and stuff like that. Oops. This camera's going to power off now. Okay, good. And my waffling point here is, it wasn't as good as your video, but at the same time it's still my opinion and my voice. I've always been an environmentalist, and now I'm just, or I've always been environmental, and now I'm just mental, because I'm 32, I've never driven a car, I don't have a driver's license. I'll just show you again my room here. Let me just see now. Yes, there's the drum kit. Yeah, it's an electronic drum kit. It's actually not mine, but I've had drum kits in my life, and I've needed a car, and but I didn't have a car myself. I either got a taxi, or whatever. So let me just quickly recap here. To be an environmentalist, it's not a huge effort, people. It's really not a huge effort. I'm an environmentalist on the level of that I'm not anti-vehicle, but I am anti-cars being used so much as they are. Forget about pollution and forget about CO2 emissions and all that sort of stuff. But the reality that cars are, they're quite. Some cars are disgusting looking, and just seeing them on the street, it's really disgusting. But also we over use cars, and obesity has a hell of a lot to do with people not exercising enough, because they just drive everywhere, there's 3 million points to make, but main point is that I've always been an environmentalist in the head, and all my CDs as a musician are on recycled paper, no plastic but the CD, and that was not an easy thing to get done, by the way, in Ireland, to get recycled paper, please people, hello. And but I did it. It took me a long time to do it, but I did do it eventually. And so I've basically done my CDs without using plastic, and the news, as you see more and more on every world media news service, is there are more and more environmental stories out there, and these people who are covering these stories are not hippies. So it's not a hippie situation, it's just a reality situation. Things are changing, and we as a human species are not doing very much about it. We're like, happy-go-lucky, somebody's going to come in and fix it for us. That's our attitude. And unfortunately, I don't see that being a reality. I don't think anybody's going to step in and change it. We have to do that ourselves. Not even government is going to do it, because government, as we all know, is pretty corrupt all over the place. They have other objectives, keeping the economy going, which honestly is the most ludicrous excuse. But anyway, we won't get into the economy. I'll leave that for another video. Just to be an environmentalist, it really doesn't take that much. Just be careful with the normal things, like closing doors, closing windows and stuff, not letting the heat out and stuff like that, not even having heat on, putting on more clothes and blankets over you and stuff like that, But I know most people don't want to do that, in the winter time. They prefer to put on the heat. I understand that. But what happens if the future is extremely hot, and we need systems then like fridges, that we need to get colder? I think we're really heading into a serious situation in the future here, and people are not being forced by government to reduce the amount of waste and fuels that they use and stuff like that. I'm not being clear. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. Can't get to sleep, insomnia. I'm sure a lot of people have that as well, because the internet is quite. Going to power off again there. The internet is quite addictive, isn't it? But thank you so much for your video. I'm sure I hope you haven't watched all of this video, because I'm waffling here, I know. But it's important, really important, that we take precautions for a possible disaster situation. At the moment, I don't see any real effort being made for precautions, as they like to call it, the Western world, is talking about certain parts of the world are going to suffer regardless of what we do now or in the future, and they're quite relaxed on that because it's not them. And it's this classic situation: if it's not in your own back garden, you don't care. And that attitude has to change. That's one attitude that needs to change. And the second thing that needs to change really is our speed at how we get things done. We cannot be waiting 20 years for certain laws and stuff to be changed. We don't have that time, people. And as that person in the video talked about, like, a million years ago or whatever, it was very hot as well, and here we go again. We don't have a million years to get this right. We have got, I personally would say we've got 20 years maximum to change this, to reverse this, or to at least slow it down, or to find other ways in which human beings can live on this planet under the possible environmental changes of the future. But all this skepticism of, yeah, a bunch of hippies, you know, it's not going to happen. Is it natural? Is it man-made? That is a waste of time. And not just a waste of time, but it's a waste of money. And all these people are talking and worrying about the economy. You know, there won't be an economy if there's no world. Okay. So peace, people. Yeah, peace. And thank you so much for that video.